Yo, so I was just telling you before we started recording. Man, I've done some wild details, right? But nothing international like you've been doing, bro. You've been all over. Dubai, Monaco, Singapore, protecting these ultra-high net worth individuals. What's that world really like compared to what we do here?
Man, it's a completely different game, Jay. Like domestic work, even high-end celebrity protection in LA or Miami, that's one thing. But when you cross borders, especially into places like the Middle East or Asia, the rules change completely. The money changes everything too.
What you mean the money changes everything? Like the client's got more to lose or what?
Both sides, actually. The clients have so much money that they become targets for serious, organized crews. We're not talking about street-level threats anymore. We're talking international kidnapping syndicates that plan operations for months. And on our side, the money they pay you can make people do crazy things, compromise their integrity.
That's real talk right there, because I've seen guys switch up for way less money than what these international gigs pay. So how'd you even get into that world? You didn't just wake up one day protecting billionaires in Dubai, right?
Nah, man, it was a progression. I started doing executive protection in Miami. High-end clubs, celebrity details, yacht parties, that type of thing. Built up a reputation for being reliable and keeping my mouth shut about what I saw.
That's key right there, the keeping your mouth shut part. I tell young guys coming into this industry all the time, your discretion is worth more than your muscle sometimes. So Miami was your training ground, basically?
Exactly, and that's where I learned the fundamentals of working with high net worth individuals. But my first international gig was Monaco during Grand Prix, protecting this tech billionaire who was there for the race and the casinos. That's when I realized this was a whole different level.
Monaco during Grand Prix? Bro, that's gotta be crazy with all the people, the parties, everyone trying to get close to these wealthy dudes. What was that like, your first time out there?
It was intense, man. I remember we were outside Casino de Monte Carlo, and I saw undercover cops busting dealers right there on the street, like 30 feet from where my client was gambling inside. The wealth and the danger exist right next to each other in these places. You got Ferraris and Lamborghinis driving past while drug deals go down in the alleyways.
See, that's what people don't understand about these high-end environments. Just because there's money everywhere doesn't mean it's safe. Sometimes it's the opposite, right? All that money attracts predators like crazy.
100%, and the threats are different too. In the States, you're worried about aggressive fans, paparazzi, maybe someone trying to serve papers or cause a scene. Internationally, especially with these ultra-wealthy clients, kidnapping for ransom is the primary concern. That's the real threat hanging over every detail.
Kidnapping for ransom. That's something we don't really deal with much domestically, at least not in the organized way you're talking about. These are professional crews running these operations, right?
Professional is an understatement, Jay. These crews have intelligence networks, inside sources, surveillance teams. They know your client's schedule better than you do sometimes. They'll watch a target for weeks or months before making a move, waiting for the perfect opportunity when security is weak or the client makes a mistake.
That's some serious planning right there, like military-level intelligence gathering. So you're constantly having to think 3-4 steps ahead, trying to anticipate what they're seeing that you might be missing.
Exactly, and sometimes the threats come from unexpected places. I worked a detail once where a YouTube influencer tried to ambush the client for content. Just ran up on him outside a restaurant with cameras rolling, trying to get a reaction for views. I had to physically intervene, move the guy back, and it almost turned into an international incident because he claimed assault.
Yo, that's the world we live in now, though. Everybody's chasing clout, trying to get their viral moment, and they don't care who they put at risk. How'd that situation resolve itself? Did the client have to deal with legal stuff or what?
Client's lawyers handled it, sent a cease and desist, threatened a bigger lawsuit if the footage got posted. The influencer backed down eventually, but it showed me that you can't just focus on traditional security threats anymore. Some kid with a phone and 1 million followers can be just as dangerous to a client's privacy and safety as a professional crew.
Facts, because once that video's out there, you can't take it back. Now everybody knows what the client looks like, where he eats, what his security setup looks like. You just gave up all your operational security for free. So after Monaco, how'd you end up getting into the Middle East work specifically?
I got recruited by an agency that specializes in Middle East protection details. They work with clients in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, places like that. The money they offered was insane, Jay, like triple what I was making on domestic details. But they were upfront about the expectations, too. You're responsible for someone worth hundreds of millions, sometimes billions.
Triple the money, but probably 10 times the pressure and risk, right? Because if something happens to a client worth that much, you're not just losing a job. You're probably never working in this industry again. The stakes are completely different.
That's exactly it, man. Your reputation is everything in this business. And one mistake with a high-profile client can end your career permanently. But I was confident in my skills, thought I'd worked enough details to handle whatever came up. Looking back now, I was naive about what I was getting into.
Okay, so that brings us to the Dubai situation you mentioned earlier. Walk me through this detail from the beginning. Who was the client? What was the assignment supposed to be?
Client was a real estate developer, Russian background, made billions in Dubai property during the boom years when that city was exploding. On paper, it seemed like a routine protection detail. Hotel to meetings, meetings to dinners, standard routes through the city. Nothing that raised red flags initially.
But I'm guessing it didn't stay routine for long, right? When did you start noticing things were off with this detail?
First red flag was the client kept changing his schedule last minute. Like we'd planned to go to a business lunch at noon, then suddenly at 11:30 he'd say we're going somewhere completely different, and he wouldn't explain why, just insisted we change the route immediately.
That's a huge red flag right there, because either he's paranoid about something specific, or he knows there's a threat he's not telling you about. Either way, you can't protect someone properly if they're keeping secrets from their own security team.
Exactly what I told him, but he just kept saying he had his reasons and to trust him. Then the second red flag hit. I started noticing the same vehicles following our convoy over 3 days. Different drivers each time, but the same cars. A black Range Rover and a silver Mercedes sedan. That's not coincidence, that's surveillance.
So you got hostile surveillance confirmed on a billionaire client who's already acting paranoid and secretive. Man, I would have been ready to walk off that detail right there, because that's a recipe for disaster. Did you confront him about the surveillance?
I did, showed him photos I'd taken of the vehicles, explained this was professional level surveillance and we needed to either bring in more security or contact local authorities. He got really agitated, told me not to involve the police under any circumstances, said he'd handle it himself through his business connections.
Oh man, that's when you know something deeper is going on. When a client specifically tells you not to involve law enforcement, he's either got legal problems himself or he's dealing with people who operate outside the law. What happened next?
Third red flag, and this one really shook me. The client's personal assistant just disappeared, like didn't show up to work one day. Phone was disconnected, nobody could reach her. I found out through local contacts that it was likely a forced disappearance situation. Someone grabbed her to send a message to the client.
Wait, they grabbed his assistant? That's not just surveillance anymore. That's an active threat making moves. How is the client reacting to this? Is he finally being honest with you about what's really going on?
He was terrified, Jay. I could see it in his eyes, the way his hands shook when he got certain phone calls. I pushed him harder for information, told him I couldn't protect him if I didn't know what we were up against. That's when he finally started talking.
Okay, so he's finally coming clean. What's the real story? What kind of trouble is this dude in that's got professional crews surveilling him and snatching his assistant?
Turns out he owed money to the wrong people. Some kind of business deal gone bad with an organization that had international reach. Not just local Dubai crew, these guys operated across multiple countries. He'd been receiving threats for weeks. Messages saying they'd take what he owed one way or another.
So this is organized crime level stuff, probably connected to his Russian background and the kind of people you deal with in that world. How much money are we talking about that he owes these people?
He wouldn't say the exact amount, but from the way he talked about it, I'm guessing tens of millions at least. And these weren't the type of people who take payment plans or negotiate terms. They wanted their money, or they wanted him. Probably to ransom him back to his family for even more.
This is getting heavy, bro. So you got all these red flags stacking up, hostile surveillance, his assistant missing, and now you know he's marked by an international crew. What's your move at this point? Do you try to extract him from Dubai or what?
That's what I recommended. Get him on a plane immediately, go somewhere these people couldn't reach him easily. But he refused, said running would make it worse. Then he dropped the real bomb on me. He wanted to do a midnight meeting in the desert with these business partners to settle things face to face.
A midnight meeting in the desert? Nah, man, that's a setup if I ever heard one. There's no legitimate reason to meet dangerous people in the middle of nowhere at night. You had to tell him that was suicide, right?
I told him exactly that. This is textbook kidnapping setup, isolated location, no witnesses, no way to get help if things go wrong. I advised against it in the strongest terms possible, told him we should arrange a meeting in a public place during daylight with proper security measures in place.
But he insisted on doing it anyway? What was his reasoning for walking into what's obviously a trap?
He said if he didn't show, they'd come for his family. His wife and 2 kids were back in Moscow, and these people had already proven they could reach anyone connected to him. He felt like this meeting was his only chance to negotiate some kind of arrangement that would keep his family safe.
Man, that's the worst position to be in. Choosing between your own safety and your family's safety. I get why he felt trapped, but going to that meeting was still probably the wrong call. So what did you do? You can't just let him go alone.
I assembled the best team I could on short notice. Brought in 2 other CPOs, both former military with combat experience. One was Marcus, British SAS background, worked with him on 3 previous details and trusted him completely. The other was Rodriguez, former U.S. Marine, specialized in hostile environment protection.
Okay, so you got solid guys with you. Military backgrounds, real experience. That makes me feel a little better about the situation. Were you armed? Because I know UAE has strict weapons laws, but for something like this, you gotta have firepower.
We were armed despite the UAE restrictions. Client had connections that allowed us to carry, but we kept it quiet. Each of us had a pistol, and Rodriguez had brought an MP5 that he kept in the lead vehicle. If this went sideways, we weren't going down without a fight.
That's what I'm talking about. You gotta be prepared for the worst case scenario. So you got your team, you got weapons, you're as ready as you can be for this desert meeting. What was the plan going in?
Plan was simple. 2-vehicle convoy with the client in the rear Mercedes G-Wagon with me, Marcus, and Rodriguez in the lead vehicle. We'd approach the meeting location carefully, assess the situation before the client got out, and be ready to extract immediately if anything looked wrong.
Solid plan, and having the client with you in the rear vehicle means you can control his movements directly. So you're rolling out into the desert at what, like 2 in the morning? Set the scene for me. What's it like out there?
It's pitch black, Jay. The kind of darkness you don't get in cities, where you can't see anything beyond your headlights. We're on this desert road about 40 miles outside Dubai. No other vehicles, no lights except the stars above us. The client is quiet in the back seat, just staring out the window, and I can feel the tension building with every mile.
That's eerie as hell, man. You're in the middle of nowhere, heading toward a meeting with dangerous people, and everything in your gut is probably telling you this is wrong. Were you getting any communication from Marcus and Rodriguez in the lead vehicle?
Yeah, we were on comms the whole time. Marcus was driving, Rodriguez was in the passenger seat watching for threats. Everything seemed normal until we got about 5 miles from the meeting coordinates. That's when the meeting location suddenly changed. Client got a text with new coordinates, different location entirely.
Hold up, they changed the location at the last minute. That's another setup indicator right there. They're making sure you can't prepare, can't scout the new location ahead of time. This is looking worse and worse.
That's exactly what I told the client. This is a bad sign. We should abort and turn around. But he begged me to keep going, said this was his only chance to protect his family. Against my better judgment, I told Marcus the new coordinates and we adjusted our route.
Man, sometimes in this job you gotta make calls you don't agree with because the client is ultimately the one making decisions. You can advise, but if they insist, you either follow through or walk away. So you're heading to the new location now. When did things start going really wrong?
We're maybe 2 miles from the new coordinates when Marcus suddenly stops the lead vehicle. Just full stop in the middle of the road. I get on comms asking what's wrong, and before he can answer, 3 black SUVs appear from side roads on both sides of us. No license plates, tinted windows, blocking our path forward and behind.
Oh shit, it's an ambush. They got you boxed in with 3 vehicles, and this is clearly a professional setup. They knew exactly where you'd be and when. What's going through your head in that moment?
Pure tactical thinking, Jay. I'm counting vehicles, looking for escape routes, hand on my weapon, calculating the odds. The client starts panicking next to me, grabbing my arm, begging me to get him out of there, but there's nowhere to go. We're surrounded, and the desert terrain on both sides means we can't just drive off-road.
You're trapped out there with no backup, no way to call for help because you're 40 miles from the city. How many guys are you seeing when they start getting out of those SUVs?
I count at least 8 men exiting the vehicles, all armed. I see AKs and pistols. They're moving with military precision, spreading out to cover all angles. And I know immediately this is a professional kidnapping crew. These aren't street thugs. These are trained operators who've done this before.
8 armed men against your 3-man team, and they got the tactical advantage with positioning and numbers. This is as bad as it gets, bro. What's the crew doing? Are they approaching the vehicles or just holding position?
Their leader approaches our vehicle. Tall guy, maybe 6'2", wearing tactical gear and speaking perfect English with a slight accent. He walks right up to my window and demands the client step out of the vehicle, just calm and professional about it, like he's asking for the time.
That's the scary part right there. When they're that calm and confident, it means they know they got you. What do you say to this dude? You're not just going to hand over your client, right?
I refuse, tell him the client isn't going anywhere, and my hand is on my weapon under the dashboard. I'm trying to buy time, figure out some angle that gets us out of this alive. The leader just smiles and says I should think carefully about my next move.
He's basically telling you that resistance means everybody dies right there in the desert. You're doing the math in your head. Can you take this guy, get to cover, maybe create enough chaos for the client to escape? What are the odds looking like?
The odds are terrible, Jay. Even if I get the leader, his guys light up our vehicle immediately, and we're all dead. I'm looking for Rodriguez and Marcus to make a move from the lead vehicle, but I can't see what they're doing from my angle. Then something happens that I never saw coming.
What happens? Don't leave me hanging, bro. What went down?
Marcus steps out of the lead vehicle and walks toward the crew. Not as a threat, but like he's joining them. I'm watching through the windshield thinking maybe he's trying some kind of negotiation tactic, but then he starts talking to their leader like they know each other. That's when it hits me. Marcus is part of this setup.
Wait, Marcus is working with them? The guy you trusted, worked 3 details with, former SAS? He's been playing you this whole time? Man, that's the ultimate betrayal right there. How did you not see that coming?
That's what kills me, Jay. I never suspected him for a second. He was professional, reliable, had an impeccable reputation in the industry. But I found out later he had gambling debts, got recruited by this crew 6 months earlier. He played the long game, working legitimate details while feeding information to the kidnapping syndicate.
6 months of planning just to set up this one grab? That's some serious dedication to the betrayal. So Marcus gave them everything. The route, the timing, your security setup, all of it. You're completely compromised before you even left Dubai.
Everything, man. He told them exactly how we'd approach, what weapons we had, even which vehicle the client would be in. The crew leader walks up closer now, and Marcus is standing right there with them, won't even look at me. I've never felt so betrayed in my life.
That's got to be messing with your head in the moment, though. You're trying to stay tactical, but you're also processing that someone you trusted just sold you out. What does the crew leader say once Marcus is standing with them?
He gives me an ultimatum. Hand over the client and we all walk away alive, or refuse and everyone dies right here in the desert. Says they don't want to kill us. They just want the client and the debt he owes. Makes it sound so reasonable. Like we're all professionals who can work this out.
But you know if you give up the client, he's probably dead anyway once they get whatever ransom or payment they're after. And your reputation in this industry is done. You can't come back from handing over a client to kidnappers, no matter what the circumstances were.
That's exactly the impossible choice I'm facing, Jay. The client is next to me crying, literally offering to double my fee, triple it, whatever I want if I can save him. He's begging for his life, and I've got maybe 30 seconds to decide what to do.
This is life or death decision-making under the worst possible pressure. You got 8 armed men, your teammate is a traitor, and you're responsible for someone's life. What do you decide? Do you fight or do you fold?
I make the call that I thought would save the most lives. I drop my weapon, raise my hands, and tell the crew leader we're not going to fight. I look at the client and tell him I'm sorry, but there's no way out of this. It's the hardest thing I've ever said to someone I was supposed to protect.
Man, that's heavy. Having to tell someone you can't save them, that you're giving up. The client must have been devastated. So the crew starts moving in to take him?
2 of their guys approach the G-Wagon to grab the client, and he's screaming my name, pleading with me not to let them take him. I'm watching it happen, feeling completely powerless, like I failed at the one job I was supposed to do. But then something changes the whole situation in an instant.
What happens? Come on, man, you can't keep building suspense like this. What changes?
I notice Rodriguez hasn't moved from the lead vehicle. He's still in the passenger seat, and I can barely see him through the tinted windows. Suddenly, he opens fire from inside the vehicle with the MP5, drops 2 of the crew members instantly before they even know what's happening. The whole situation just erupts into chaos.
Rodriguez just lit them up, so now it's a firefight in the middle of the desert. What's your move when the shooting starts? You already dropped your weapon, right?
I dive for my weapon on the floor. The client is screaming and trying to get down. Bullets are hitting our vehicle. I hear glass shattering, metal pinging. I manage to grab my pistol and kick open the door, using the G-Wagon as cover while I try to assess the situation and find targets.
You're in a full gunfight now with 8 armed men. Well, 6 now that Rodriguez dropped 2. And you're trying to protect a panicking client while taking fire from multiple angles. How do you even process what to do in that chaos?
Training kicks in, Jay. You stop thinking and just react. I take cover behind the G-Wagon's engine block, the only real protection from rifle rounds, and I start engaging targets. I see 1 crew member moving toward Rodriguez's vehicle, and I put 2 rounds center mass, drop him before he can get a shot off.
So you got 1, Rodriguez got 2. That's 3 down. But that still leaves 5 armed men plus Marcus. Where's the crew leader during all this? The tall dude who was doing all the talking?
He's behind one of their SUVs, directing his remaining guys and returning fire. I manage to hit 1 more crew member in the leg. He goes down screaming, crawling behind cover. Rodriguez is still laying down fire from the lead vehicle, keeping them pinned. But we're outnumbered, and they got better positioning.
What about Marcus? Is he shooting at you guys now, or is he trying to stay out of it since he's not really crew?
Marcus is trying to get to Rodriguez. He's got his weapon out and he's moving toward the lead vehicle. I see him lining up a shot on Rodriguez and I'm screaming on comms to warn him. Rodriguez spins and fires first, hits Marcus with a 3-round burst center mass. Marcus goes down hard, hitting the sand, and I can see blood spreading across his tactical vest.
Damn, so Marcus just got dropped by the guy he was trying to kill. That's instant karma right there, but you said earlier you watched him die. What was that like, seeing someone you trusted bleeding out?
It was surreal, Jay. Part of me wanted to help him because we had history. We'd worked together, shared meals, talked about our families. But another part of me knew he'd just tried to get us all killed for money. I watched him choking on his own blood, trying to say something but unable to get the words out.
That's a heavy image to carry with you, man. But you can't focus on that in the moment. You still got a firefight happening and a client to protect. What's going on with the crew leader and his remaining guys?
The crew leader makes a move that changes everything. He grabs the client. While I'm dealing with another shooter, two of his guys rush the G-Wagon from different angles, and the leader gets his hands on my client. He's using him as a human shield now, backing toward one of their SUVs with a gun to the client's head.
Oh man, now you got a hostage situation on top of the firefight. You can't just shoot through your own client to get the bad guy. That's the nightmare scenario right there. What are your options at this point?
I've got a shot on the crew leader. Clear headshot, I could take it, but the client is right there, and if I miss, or if the guy's finger twitches on the trigger, my client dies. I'm frozen, weapon aimed, but unable to pull the trigger because the risk is too high.
That's the impossible shot that every protection officer trains for but hopes they never have to take. You're probably, 30, 40 feet away? Any number of things could go wrong even if you're a perfect shot.
About 35 feet, and I'm a good shot, but not good enough to guarantee that outcome. But Rodriguez doesn't hesitate. From his angle in the lead vehicle, he's got a clearer shot on the crew leader's shoulder. He takes it, single shot that hits the leader in the right shoulder, makes him drop his weapon and lose his grip on the client.
Rodriguez is a stone-cold professional, man. That's the shot you take when you trust your skills completely. So the client breaks free. What does he do? Run toward you.
He's running toward my position, completely panicked, stumbling in the sand. I'm laying down covering fire to keep the remaining crew members from shooting him, and Rodriguez is doing the same from his angle. The client makes it to the G-Wagon, and I pull him behind cover, checking if he's hit.
Is he okay? Did he catch any rounds during all that chaos?
He's physically fine, just terrified and in shock. But the crew is retreating now. They're dragging their wounded back to the SUVs, engines roaring to life. The crew leader is being pulled into one of the vehicles, still clutching his shoulder, and I can hear him yelling orders to fall back.
So they're cutting their losses and getting out of there. Do you engage while they're retreating, or do you let them go since you got your client back?
I let them go, Jay. My priority is the client's safety, and continuing the firefight just increases the risk of him getting hit by a stray round. Rodriguez puts a few more rounds into their vehicles as they're leaving, but we don't pursue. Within 30 seconds, all three SUVs are gone, disappeared into the desert darkness.
And just like that, it's over. How long did the whole firefight last from when Rodriguez opened fire to when they drove off?
Maybe 90 seconds total, but it felt like an hour. Time does weird things when you're in a gunfight. Some moments stretch out forever, and others happen so fast you can barely process them. I'm standing there in the sudden silence, ears ringing from the gunfire, trying to catch my breath and process what just happened.
90 seconds of pure chaos and violence that probably changed your life forever. You got Marcus dying in the sand, wounded crew members, bullet casings everywhere. What's the first thing you do once the shooting stops?
First thing is securing the client. I get him in the G-Wagon, doors locked, while Rodriguez and I clear the area to make sure no crew members are still hiding nearby. Then I check on Marcus, even though I know he's gone. He's lying there in the sand, blood pooled around him, eyes open and empty.
That's gotta mess with you mentally, seeing someone you knew like that. Did he say anything before he died, or was it just over?
He tried to say something when Rodriguez shot him, but he was choking on blood and couldn't get the words out. I'll never know if he was trying to apologize, explain himself, or just curse us. That uncertainty haunts me more than if he'd said nothing at all.
Yeah, that's tough, not having closure on why he did it or what his last thoughts were. So you got a dead body, you're in the middle of the UAE desert, you just had a shootout. What's the next move? You gotta call this in, right?
I called it in immediately. Contacted Dubai police and private security forces that work with the client's agency. They arrived within 20 minutes. Helicopters, armed response teams, the whole show. UAE doesn't mess around with violence, especially involving foreign nationals and firearms.
20 minutes response time in the middle of the desert? That's actually impressive. But I'm guessing you and Rodriguez spent the next few hours getting grilled by authorities about what went down, right?
Try 12 hours, Jay. They separated us and interrogated us individually, going over every detail of what happened, why we were out there, who authorized us to carry weapons, everything. UAE authorities are serious about security, and they wanted to make sure this was legitimate self-defense and not some kind of criminal operation.
12 hours of interrogation after you just survived a gunfight. That's brutal, man. Were they treating you like suspects, or did they understand you were protecting a client from kidnappers?
It was somewhere in between. Professional but intense. They knew about the kidnapping threat because the client had connections with government officials, but they still needed to verify everything, collect evidence, make sure our story matched the physical evidence at the scene.
So the client's connections ended up being useful for something besides getting him into trouble. Did those connections help smooth things over with the authorities?
Absolutely. His relationships with people in the Dubai government basically saved us from serious legal complications. The whole incident got classified, kept out of the media, handled quietly. If he'd been some random person without connections, Rodriguez and I probably would have faced charges for the weapons violations alone.
That's the power of money and connections in that part of the world. Rules apply differently depending on who you know. So the authorities cleared you guys of any wrongdoing?
Eventually, yeah. They determined it was justified self-defense against a kidnapping attempt, and they were actually interested in the information we could provide about the crew. Turns out this syndicate had been operating across 3 countries, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, kidnapping high-value targets for ransom.
So this was a major criminal organization, not just some local crew trying to make a quick score. How much money were they making from these kidnappings?
The authorities told us they were averaging $20 to $50 million per successful grab, targeting billionaires, wealthy businessmen, anyone with the money to pay massive ransoms. They'd been operating for at least 3 years before we encountered them.
20 to 50 million per grab? No wonder Marcus was willing to betray you. They probably offered him millions to set up the client. Did you find out how much they paid him to turn?
Authorities found evidence that Marcus had gambling debts totaling about $800,000. That's what initially made him vulnerable to recruitment. The syndicate paid off his debts and promised him $2 million once they successfully grabbed the client. He sold us out for money he never even got to spend.
800,000 in gambling debts? Man, that's how they get you. Find your weakness and exploit it. $2 million probably seemed like a fortune to him, enough to solve all his problems, but instead, it got him killed. What happened to the client after everything was sorted with the authorities?
Client went into hiding immediately, left Dubai within 48 hours and never came back as far as I know. He was terrified that the syndicate would try again, and honestly, he was probably right to be scared. These organizations don't just give up after one failed attempt.
Smart move getting out of there, because if they invested that much time and resources into grabbing him once, they'd definitely try again. Did he pay you and Rodriguez for saving his life?
He paid us a massive bonus, $500,000 each. Wired it to our accounts before he even left Dubai, along with a message thanking us for saving his life. But honestly, Jay, I couldn't even enjoy the money. It felt like blood money, payment for watching Marcus die and surviving something that still gives me nightmares.
I get that, man. No amount of money can erase the trauma of going through something like that. The betrayal, the violence, watching someone you knew die. How did you process it all mentally? Did you talk to anybody, get therapy, or just try to push through?
I stopped doing international details for 8 months after Dubai. Just couldn't do it. Couldn't trust anyone. Every time I'd meet a new team member or start a new detail, I'd wonder if they were another Marcus, if they'd been compromised, if they'd sell me out when things got dangerous.
That's PTSD right there, bro. The constant suspicion and inability to trust. 8 months is a long time to be out of the game. What brought you back? Did you eventually work through it, or did you just need the money?
Rodriguez reached out to me, actually. He'd been working steady details, and he needed someone he could trust for a high-profile gig. He said the only person he'd trust to watch his back after Dubai was me, because we'd been through the worst together and came out alive. That meant something to me.
That's real brotherhood right there. Forged in combat, tested under fire. Rodriguez became more than just a colleague after that night, right? He became someone you knew you could count on no matter what.
Exactly, and that's rare in this industry. You work with a lot of people, but you only bond with a few, the ones who've proven themselves when everything's falling apart. Rodriguez took that shot that saved the client, and he did it without hesitation. That's the kind of partner you want when things go bad.
So you got back into international work, but I'm guessing your whole approach changed after Dubai. How do you vet team members now? What's different about the way you operate?
I vet every team member personally now. No agency referrals I can't verify myself. I run background checks, talk to people they've worked with, look for any financial problems or vulnerabilities that could be exploited. I also trust my gut more. If something feels off about someone, I don't work with them, period.
That's the lesson right there. Your instincts are usually right, and in this business, ignoring red flags can get people killed. Did you ever hear what happened to the client after he left Dubai? You said he went into hiding, but did the story end there?
This is the part that haunts me, Jay. I heard through the security network that he was grabbed 6 months later in Singapore. Different crew, different setup, but same outcome. The syndicate or someone like them finally got him, and his family had to pay ransom to get him back.
Man, so everything you went through, Marcus dying, the firefight in the desert, it only bought the client 6 more months of freedom before they got him anyway. That's got to make you question if any of it mattered, right?
That's exactly what I struggle with. I think about that night constantly. If I'd made different calls, fought differently, maybe forced the client to go into witness protection or something more secure. But the reality is, once you're marked by these organizations, they don't stop coming. The client should have disappeared completely, changed his identity, but he didn't.
Some people can't let go of their old life, even when staying visible puts them at risk. The money, the lifestyle, the connections, they'd rather take the risk than give all that up. That's not on you, though. You did your job that night, saved his life when he was about to be taken.
I appreciate you saying that, Jay. But I still carry the weight of wondering if I could have done more. The client survived the Singapore kidnapping. Ransom was paid, he was released, but I heard he's never been the same mentally. The trauma of being held captive, not knowing if you're going to live or die, that changes a person forever.
This whole story is heavy, man. The betrayal from Marcus, the firefight, watching him die, saving the client only to have him get grabbed later anyway. That's a lot to process and carry with you. What's the biggest lesson you took from the Dubai situation?
The biggest lesson is that in this business, trust is everything, and betrayal can cost lives. Marcus destroyed his reputation and lost his life for money he never even got to spend. He threw away years of building credibility in the industry for a payday that killed him. That's the cautionary tale I share with everyone I work with now.
And that's what people need to understand about executive protection and close protection work at this level. It's not about the money, it's about integrity and trust. Once you compromise that, you're done in this industry. Your reputation is the only thing that matters long term.
Exactly right. And I've seen it happen to other people too. Guys who cut corners, took bribes, leaked client information for money. They might make a quick score, but they're finished professionally. Nobody will work with them, nobody will trust them. And in some cases like Marcus, it gets them killed.
That's real talk right there. So for people listening who are in this industry or thinking about getting into executive protection, what advice would you give them based on everything you've experienced?
First, understand that this job is about protecting lives, not collecting paychecks. If you're in it just for the money, you're going to make compromises that put people at risk. Second, vet everyone you work with. Don't assume someone is trustworthy just because they have credentials or military background. And third, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is.
Those are solid principles that apply to all levels of security work, not just international close protection. I tell my guys the same thing. Your integrity is your most valuable asset, and once you lose it, you can never get it back. No amount of money is worth destroying your reputation.
And in Marcus's case, he lost more than his reputation. He lost his life. That's the ultimate price for betrayal in this business. I think about his family sometimes, how they had to deal with the news that he died in a shootout in the Dubai desert while working for criminals. That's his legacy now.
That's tragic, man. His family probably never knew he was compromised. Probably thought he was doing legitimate security work right up until they got the news he was dead. The ripple effects of these decisions go way beyond just the person making them.
That's what people don't think about when they're tempted by easy money or shortcuts. The impact on their families, their colleagues, their clients. Marcus's decision to work with that crew didn't just affect him. It put me and Rodriguez at risk, traumatized the client, and left his own family dealing with the aftermath.
Man, Orlando, I appreciate you sharing this story with us. This is real talk, the kind of stuff people in this industry need to hear. Not the glamorized movie version, but the actual reality of what close protection looks like at the highest levels when things go wrong.
Thanks for having me, Jay. I needed to tell this story. Maybe it saves someone else from making the same mistakes Marcus made, or help someone recognize warning signs before they end up in a situation like Dubai. If one person hears this and makes a better decision because of it, then talking about the worst night of my life was worth it.
For everyone listening, this is what close protection really looks like at the highest levels. It's not movies, it's not glamorous. It's life and death decisions in the desert at 2 a.m. It's watching people you trusted betray you for money. It's carrying the weight of those experiences for the rest of your life.
And it's knowing that you can do everything right and still have things go wrong later. The client survived that night, but he didn't survive 6 months later in Singapore. That's the reality of this world. You can win the battle and still lose the war.
That's deep, bro. If you're in security, executive protection, or thinking about getting into this field, understand that trust is everything and betrayal can cost lives. Choose your team wisely, vet everyone thoroughly, and never compromise your integrity for money. Those principles will keep you alive and employable in this industry.
And remember, that reputation is everything in this business. Marcus destroyed his for money and it killed him. Choose integrity over everything else every single time, no matter how tempting the alternative might seem.
Orlando Palmer, thank you for coming on The Protection Perspective and keeping it real with us. For everyone else, subscribe to the show, leave a review, and stay safe out there. Remember, in protection, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and sometimes that weak link is someone you trusted completely.
Thanks again, Jay. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and trust your instincts. That's what keeps you alive in this business.
This has been The Protection Perspective. I'm Big J. Stay dangerous, stay protected, and remember that in this game, your word and your reputation are the only things that really matter. Peace.